Welcome to this Leslie creation named Frankenstein. Shortly, you'll see why it got that name. But first, this is how it sounds. Frankenstein started as a Leslie 125. It was modded to be used as a passive speaker cabinet. Although it sounded great, it lacked that screaming high end that you can find in a Leslie 122 or 145. To remedy the lack of high end in this Leslie 125, I was going to install the upper portion of a Leslie 122 or 145. But after talking to somebody who knows a lot about Hammonds and Leslies, they recommended to look into the MTI RotoPhaser. After doing a little bit of research, I went on reverb.com and purchased one for about $300. There's an affiliate link to reverb.com in the description below, and it helps out this channel if you use it. Upon arrival, I received the MTI RotoPhaser along with its two pedals. The first pedal is a bypass pedal. Without it being plugged in and in the correct position, the horn will not sound. The second pedal controls the speed of the motors. It has two buttons. The one on the left controls the speed, and the one on the right turns off both motors. Now, having both the MTI RotoPhaser and the Leslie 125, a way to connect them to each other was needed. Connecting the horn and the RotoPhaser to the speaker in the 125 was pretty straightforward. Since the MTI had a speaker input that goes to the crossover and horn, then a bass output that could be used to drive the speaker in the 125. All that needed to be done was to take a 1/4 inch output from an amp, put it into the input on the MTI, take the output from the MTI, and connect it to the 1/4 inch speaker input on the 125, while the bypass pedal was in the correct orientation. Since the bypass pedal was always going to allow sound to go through the crossover and horn, why even have it? So it was decided to hardwire the input to go through the crossover and horn, then to the output, bypassing the need for the bypass pedal. That takes care of the sound. Now we need to address the motors. And this is where Frankenstein gets its name from. A few solutions were needed to solve a couple of the issues that arose. The first solution needed address the physical connection between the motors. It had to be safe, easily reconnected and disconnected, and allow mains power, 120 volts, to pass. The second solution needed is to get rid of the high voltage in the foot pedal that controls the motors, reducing the risk of electrocution. The third solution needed is a way to change the direction of one of the motor assemblies. In a typical Leslie setup, the upper motor spins in opposition of the lower motor. And the fourth solution needed is to make the change in speed of the MTI horn more gradual. Getting rid of the pedal was key. It freed a connector that could be used to carry the mains voltage to the 125's motors. Right now would be a great time for a disclaimer. Working with mains voltage, 120 volts, is lethal and may kill you. Do not try what occurs in this video. Instead of using the sketchy pedal that comes along with the MTI, an Arduino microcontroller along with a pair of Japanese solid-state relays would replace the need for the pedal. Because the bypass pedal was also removed, it allowed the 4-pin bypass connector to be replaced with a 1/4 inch jack, providing a place for a latching foot switch to be connected to the 1/4 inch jack, sending the Arduino an open or closed signal. Since I didn't have a latching foot switch pedal, I made one out of a piece of metal from a Hammond, a latching foot switch, a 1/4 inch jack, and a couple of wires, the total costing under $5. For the Arduino to understand a signal from the latching pedal, it requires code and 5 volts for power. An old cell phone charger was repurposed to provide the Arduino with 5 volts. Here's a look at the Arduino's code, better known as a sketch. On the first line, you'll see int delay time, which means delay time represents a number. Following that, void setup, which in this case tells the Arduino what to do with the I/O pins on the microcontroller. Void loop is the part of the code that will keep repeating or looping once the Arduino has run the void setup. The main purpose of this code is to temporarily disengage both the fast and slow motor, allowing the horn to gradually slow down before the slow motor gets engaged. This delay can be turned on or off using the switch added on the back of the RotoPhaser. If the slow motor engages right after the fast motor, it almost instantly changes the speed, due to the motor spindle hitting the belt pulley, making the belt and horn lose their momentum. In order to reverse the motor, the coils had to be flipped 180 degrees upside down. Because there are two motors, both coils had to be flipped. And since Frankenstein deserves to be seen, some LEDs and a decoder were installed, so you can see it moving and that it's alive. Because it uses parts from Italy, Japan, China, America, and who knows where else, and a combination of technologies from the 60s to the modern day, I thought it was only fitting to name this creation Frankenstein. If you made it this far in the video, let me know what your thoughts are, or if you have any tips and tricks you'd like to share. Thanks for watching.